Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of...
What does it mean when a person gains weight? I'm not talking about just like 1 or 2 pounds or even 10 pounds, but a substantial amount of weight. For people like Joe Rogan and Bill Maher, it's a combination of being lazy and undisciplined. Additionally, Bill Maher has had a number of segments in his show, Real Time with Bill Maher, in which he believes that fat shaming needs to be implemented to get people to change their eating habits and exercise more often. Others make the comparison of obesity with smoking, where telling one person who's smoking to stop smoking, and that's positively accepted by society. But if one was to tell an obese person to stop eating junk food, that's frowned upon. Both smoking and obesity are related to the top causes of death in America, but trying to correct an obese person's habits tends to get negative connotations as being a fat shamer. Welcome to the Workout Nerd Out. I'm Julio Lopez. I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist with over 9 years of experience in personal training. Also, I have a master's degree in nutrition. I want you to think of this as a safe space where I encourage you to share your views, opinions, and what you think would be the best solution for correcting the course of America's rapidly increasing obesity rates. Just a word of warning, I'll be discussing people's political views as well as some of mine, so please try to keep your emotions in check if you begin to hear things that you don't agree with. Going back to Joe Rogan and Bill Maher, is it fair to say that becoming overweight or obese just means that a person is lazy and undisciplined? Being an elite athlete requires a huge amount of dedication and discipline to get there, especially when one advances his or her career up to the championship level. When we're speaking of weight gain and elite athletes, a couple retired and also some active athletes that have gained a considerable amount of weight may have popped into your head. Boxing fans might be thinking of George Foreman, whereas football fans would be thinking of someone like Bo Jackson. Even though such athletes exhibited massive amounts of discipline to reach such a high level in their sports, why can't they simply shift that intense focus and discipline to good weight management by eating more healthy and working out consistently in the same way that they did with their sports? Obviously, when Joe Rogan and Bill Maher make their assertions about the overweight and obese population, they're not thinking about these elite athletes. The most likely causes of obesity extends much wider than merely being lazy and undisciplined. However, this should not be misconstrued into thinking that I don't believe these two things are major factors. If you're an MMA fan, you're probably aware of Gina Carano. For those of you that don't know the name, you've probably seen her in movies like Deadpool and I believe it was Fast and Furious 6. There's so many, I get them all mixed up. And more recently, she was on The Mandalorian. She started off her career in Muay Thai, then moved into becoming an MMA fighter, where she is christened as the face of women's MMA, when she was about to fight Chris Cyborg for the inaugural women's title in Strikeforce. And that's an MMA league that was later bought by the UFC. For Carano to become such a skilled and accomplished fighter, even though her bout with Cyborg didn't go well, it was clear that she had the looks, physique, and skill set to make her a huge prospect as an action movie star. Her stardom was definitely on the rise, especially when being cast as a support character in The Mandalorian. In fact, there were rumors, which were eventually confirmed by Carano, that there were actually plans to develop a spin-off where she would be the lead. One of the things about being a Disney employee is that it's well known that being an employee under the Disney banner means that these people have to be very careful about stirring the pot, especially the actors and actresses that are not yet prominent A-list celebrities like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson or Emma Watson. Unfortunately, Gina Carano used her large platform on Twitter to share her personal thoughts on COVID restrictions and even making comparisons to the Holocaust. And according to Disney, some of her comments made on Twitter were deemed harmful to the LGBTQ community. So she was fired. Even as a movie star and former professional fighter, two careers that have high demands for managing one's weight, you can see from the comparison that Miss Carano had gained a good amount of weight. Again, the Joe Rogans and Bill Mahers of the world would suggest that weight gain is a neon sign of laziness and fat shaming is a good thing. But is this appropriate in Gina Carano's case? The most basic explanation of what causes weight gain is calories in, calories out. In other words, if your caloric intake is greater than your caloric expenditure, you're bound to gain weight. The most common method used by doctors and registered dietitians to estimate how many calories an individual burns in a given day is to calculate the basal metabolic rate and adjusting for activity level by using the Mifflin-St. Jean formula. The formula uses a person's age, height, weight, and gender to estimate how many calories you would burn if you're totally inactive. Think of someone like in a coma. Since Mifflin St. John only focuses on the number of calories that your body is burning to keep yourself alive, you also have to include the activity level to get a more accurate estimate. For example, a person that works as a farmer means that he's on his feet most of the day, carrying heavy things and moving around constantly. But an attorney is mostly cooped up in his office as he's researching, reading, and preparing documents for clients while sitting down most of the time. Obviously, the farmer is going to be burning a lot more calories throughout the day than the attorney because his job is a lot more physically demanding than the mostly sedentary work of an attorney. In other words, assuming the farmer and attorney are the exact same age, height, weight, gender, and are even part of the same workout classes, the farmer's meals would be more calorically dense than the attorney's if they were to try to stay at the same weight. If they were to swap meals, the farmer would be losing a lot of weight if he was to be eating the attorney's meals, and the attorney would be gaining a lot of weight if he was to be eating the farmer's meals. This is not all, though. Yes, the majority of weight gain and weight loss is mostly due to the caloric intake and expenditure. But you also have to consider the intangibles that can affect how your body stores and burns calories in ways that scientists have yet to figure out how to measure. While Mifflin St. John formula is currently the most widely accepted way to estimate the BMR, it is still nothing more than an estimate. Think of it like your car when you're running low on fuel. It's going to tell you that you have so many miles until the gas tank is empty. Even though your destination is a couple miles closer than the estimated remaining mileage, it'd serve you well to pull into a gas station to refuel. Otherwise, you're taking a huge risk that could leave you stranded on the side of the road. As mentioned earlier, there are a huge variety of intangibles that currently makes it impossible to accurately declare what causes weight gain. So just saying it's because of laziness is, well, lazy. In Gina Carano's case, although I have not met her, my educated guess is that the emotional distress likely from depression resulting from her public firing as a character in The Mandalorian, the loss of prospectively getting her own spin-off, and getting labeled as a right-wing conspiracy theorist and COVID denier, which had her blackballed from future movie projects where she could have been cast, these things may have contributed to her weight gain. In a recent interview on the Sage Steele show, Carano talked about how food provided comfort that as time passed is responsible for her recent weight gain.
I think sometimes we put on weight and we try to protect ourselves, right? Like I think food is also like a comforting thing, like, okay, that can be the comfort. I think a lot of people are struggling with that right now.
We can all agree that mental health is important, but people that are struggling with anxiety, depression, and other forms of emotional distress often feel isolated and don't have others that they feel comfortable to turn to for help. It's common for people with depression to feel too embarrassed to even reach out to their own family or friends for help. And food is one mode of comfort that provides temporary relief. Since people with depression are isolated, this is a perfect recipe for weight gain because they can eat all they want, and since they don't like going out into public, much less working out in a public gym, weight gain is bound to happen. As you grow older, your metabolic rate slows down little by little each year. So it takes fewer calories each year for you to gain weight. I'm telling you, aging sucks. Also, Gina Carano is exactly the same age as me, 41. And after turning 40, the body begins to lose about 0.5% of muscle mass each year, and the rate of muscle loss increases substantially more in the following decades. If she were to be totally sedentary, it's possible she might be losing more muscle than the 0.5%. Hormones, stress, and poor sleep quality are also factors that can slow down a person's metabolic rate, thus increasing the possibility of weight gain. It's likely that Gina Carano's emotional distress from her public firing from The Mandalorian and the negative onslaught of trolls on social media and the conventional media celebrating her demise are sure to have affected her mental health. The stress from getting a huge rush of negative comments attacking her is a given, which is likely to have made it difficult for her to sleep well. Gaining weight happens, and it's not just because people are lazy and undisciplined. For some people, it could be because of stress, a lack of appetite control, poor sleep, or a combination of all three. But that barely scratches the surface of the many factors behind obesity. Joe Rogan and Bill Maher, just like you and I, are entitled to their opinions, but we are each entitled the right to agree or disagree with those opinions. When it comes to fat shaming, there are plenty of examples where people who once were overweight or obese got tired of being mocked for his or her weight. Then they use that as their motivation to live a healthier lifestyle and successfully lose weight. However, there are also examples where mocking people about their weight led individuals to isolate themselves further and gain even more weight, fall into a deep depression, adopt dangerous methods of losing weight, or even committing suicide. The oversimplification of complex things like weight gain and weight loss can make it easier for people to make their arguments without having to conduct extensive research and think critically. And this is how we get comedians like Joe Rogan and Bill Maher without any education whatsoever on the sciences that covers weight gain or nutrition, but acting like they're experts in solving obesity. Do I think that fat shaming has value? No, but I don't deny that this has inspired some people to lose weight and become more healthy. The reason why I particularly dislike fat shaming is that it's almost never rooted in a genuine concern of the overweight or obese person's health or potential health risks. In most cases, calling someone a fat pig or telling them to stop stuffing his face, especially when it's someone that you don't even know, it's going to hurt more than it's going to help. Instead, as Joey Soul says, mind your own business. If it's a close friend or a relative, someone that you personally know and genuinely care about, you're going to be a lot more considerate when approaching this person about becoming more healthy, just as you would expect them to do the same for you in other situations. Fat shaming is nothing more than bullying, and it's flat out ugly. As much as it disturbs me to see the ever-rising obesity rates in America, this doesn't give anybody the right to be rude to others. I like to believe that educating people on how to adopt a healthy lifestyle that includes good eating habits, especially those that appeals to their individual tastes, and finding the exercise activity that makes them excited about doing it consistently will be much more effective than any fat shaming. Ever. So that does it for today's Workout Nerd Out. Thank you so much for joining me. If you know anyone who can benefit from this, be sure to share it with them. Until next time, I'll see you on the next Workout Nerd Out.